What's going on, everyone? Mike here, and this is episode 2 of our Monday Q&A. I want to thank everyone that submitted questions last week. I do appreciate it. If you want to leave questions for the next episode, put them down in the comments or message me on Twitter at GameWeaver. Question number 1 comes from a user named Gary Sims. He asks, "Hey Mike, my question is, do you make sales every day? And if not, how many days do you go without making a sale? And how do you deal with the slow periods?" Hey Gary, that's a really good question. The fact of the matter is, everyone has slow periods, so of course you have to learn how to deal with them. Typically, I do not go a day without a sale simply because I have quite a bit of stuff listed, and I sell through eBay now and an e-commerce site. Usually one of them will sell something throughout the day. Now, there are days where I have minimal amounts of sales. I mean, under 100, for instance, I would consider not a very good day. A typical rule of thumb for me is if you have more than 100 to 200 listings on eBay, you likely won't go a day without a sale as long as you keep it maintained. It seems like that's the number that it kind of gets the ball rolling, and you have enough listings to draw in enough people to keep your store relatively busy no matter what you're selling. Now, you know what I mean by no matter what you're selling. If you're selling dog shit, then yeah, you're probably not going to make a lot of sales. But for the most part, if you have a decent quality product, you have more than 100 or 200 of them listed, you'll get a pretty consistent traffic base. I do have days where I don't get sales on my e-commerce site because it's relatively new, and I've been working really hard to get it more consistent, and it hasn't been going too well so far. It's only been open for a week and a half, and we have maybe 7 sales only. If you compare that to my eBay sales, in that week and a half we have almost 80 sales, so that's a huge difference, and we're averaging about 10 to 12 sales a day on eBay right now. Also, when I have a slow day, I try not to get too down about it. Everyone's going to have a slow day from time to time. On those days, I have less to package and ship or less to worry about, so I try and do other things that are more productive in a different area. I would say, if you have a slow period and you're kind of concerned about those sales, focus on something else for the day or the next couple days and see how it goes. Sometimes you just have slow days no matter what you're selling. Now, if your slow period continues for a long period of time and your business is really not doing well, then you need to reevaluate how you're doing things. In those slow times, you can use it to leverage social media to get more sales, or to create YouTube videos to get more sales. Do something productive that helps bring in sales in the long run, and don't worry so much about the short term. Question number 2 comes from a user named Jacob Martin. He asks, what is a good way to get in touch with a wholesaler? Jacob, thanks for the question, man. I appreciate it. Before I answer it, though, I want to tell you something. Your privacy settings on Google Plus are not allowing me to reply to your comments. This is actually quite common. It seems to be an issue with quite a few users, and they think I'm ignoring them. I'm really not. If you go into your privacy settings, and there's a column that says allow users who are not in your circles to comment on your comments. If you have that checked, then I can talk to you. If you don't, then I'm not able to speak to you. So unless you change your settings, I can't respond to your comments. I'm just letting you know. Now, as far as the question goes, what do you mean by get in touch with a wholesaler? Do you mean find a wholesaler? Because if you want to find a wholesaler, then you need to go to a wholesale directory or really do some calling around and talk to people that own stores or one of those kinds of things. Wholesalers are pretty hidden from the general public, so they don't see what products actually cost the facilities that are selling them, such as Walmart, Target, etc. Now, if you mean you already have a wholesaler and you want to get in touch with them, the best way I would say is phone call or email. I mean, obviously that's the best way to get in touch with just about anyone. Just call them and talk to them. Most wholesalers are actually really cool and laid back places. I've talked to every wholesaler that I deal with, and they're always really nice and helpful. So give them a call if you already found one. If you didn't find one, then you really have to do your research and figure it out. I use a directory through Worldwide Brands, and I found them just throughout selling video games along the way. So do your research, give them a call. Easiest way to get a hold of a wholesaler. Question number 3 comes from a user named Chris. He says, my favorite items to sell are usually the lightweight and very small items which have high profit margins. So my question is, what is your favorite type of item to sell? Chris, that's an awesome question. I actually really like it, and it actually had me thinking quite a bit. For me, my favorite thing to sell is obviously video games. If you're saying type, then I would pick video games as a general interest. Now, if you want to get more specific, I actually really like selling rare and valuable video games. Not because of the profit margin, but because of the kind of fun research that has to go into finding out that they're so valuable, and the chance to meet and talk to collectors who have been searching for these games for years. I've come across quite a few rare games throughout my time selling them, and each one has been a lot of fun to actually list and auction off. So Chris, I actually have a question for you. What kind of items do you sell that are small and have a very high profit margin? From my standpoint, most of the games I sell and the merchandise I sell is quite bulky, so I don't really have many small items with a high profit margin. I was just curious to what you're selling. Question number 4 comes from a user named TBD183. Their question is, how many hours a day does it take to run different size eBay stores? And any tips on time management as far as running an online store on eBay? It can take as little as a couple hours a week if you manage it well and you sell only wholesale goods or you drop ship. However, that's really not my cup of tea. Aside from that, if you're running a full-fledged, like big turn and burn kind of store, I would say you probably put in a minimum 40 to 60 hours a week. I personally, for the last 2 weeks, have been working 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. No joke. Now, right now I'm trying to get a lot of stuff set up. I move my office, that kind of thing. Typically, I always put in a minimum of 60 hours. That's just how I am. When I'm working full-time, I work 60 to 80 hours a week full-time. So when I left my job and came to do the business, I want to put in just as much time doing this, especially since this is something I truly love and want to do. Now, as far as time management goes, that's a great question. Honestly, I'm not the best with time management. I am very organized, but I'm very easily distracted. It's probably my biggest weak point, aside from my horrible memory. Now I sound like an old man, I know. But really, for me, the best things that help me manage my time are a very strict schedule that I type out ahead of time. Something to keep me organized throughout the day. If I just go into the day hoping to manage my time, I usually don't do a good job. So for me, it's planning ahead is the best key for time management. Aside from that, as a business owner, you have to be versatile and you have to be ready to work hard all the time. So I would say, if you really want to make it on just eBay or online or e-commerce or whatever, you should be putting in a minimum 60 hours a week. If you're not, then really you're not putting all of your effort into your business. As far as time management goes, everyone has their own little perks about the way they handle things. Certain people are distracted easier, some are not. So I would say time management is really a personal kind of preference. Question number 5 comes from a user named Void. They ask, how much money do you have to get for the IRS to tax you? Void, I get questions all the time about taxes. Unfortunately, they're not my specialty and I don't like to answer them simply because they're so complicated and I don't want to give someone bad advice. But let me break something really simple down for you. There is no magic number that you need to make in profit to pay taxes. It's this simple. The moment you make your first dollar in profit, you are to pay taxes to the IRS. That simple. It's really that clear cut. Now, of course, there's lots of other things involved in it, but if you're making profit, then you need to get your records together and you need to be ready to pay the IRS. Because if they come after you ever and they find out you didn't pay them, and even if you made $10 in profit and it shows up, they're going to want their money. So simply put, the moment you're making money back, you need to really be worrying about the IRS and keeping track of your records. It's really pretty simple. You know, eBay offers invoices for every sale. They even offer invoices specifically for you and your records. Just print them out with sales and keep them in a folder. I keep things very organized, and in the near future I'm going to do a video to show everyone how I organize and do things now. You know, my setup's a lot different than it used to be. I use a barcode scanner to do inventory and that kind of stuff now. So, simply put, when you make profit at all, you need to pay the IRS taxes. There's no magic number. There's no so many, transactions a year. There's not so much money per year. You're required to pay taxes the moment you make any profit. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. I hope I was able to answer your questions and help you again. Like I said, I'll be around a lot more now. I'm trying to keep up with comments, run my social media, and really start putting out a lot more videos every month than I was. I'm really glad I'm back, and I'm glad everyone has been so supportive. Thank you so much. I hope to see you around. Leave your questions in the comments below. See you guys later.